Welcome to this new edition of Inside the Huddle right here on High School Cube News, brought to you by Danley's Garage Builders. Brian Chimino with you once again with Mike Clark of the Sun-Times and Beth Long of Fox Sports and Scout.com. A lot of upsets in Week 2 of the playoffs, including 4 top 10 teams going down. And we start with St. Rita losing a tough one to Mount Carmel.
Yeah, that was a game that had a lot of hype going into it, and it lived up to the hype. Mount Carmel got off to a lead, pretty much doing the same thing they did in the first matchup, really clamping down on defense. They're up 14-0 going into the late in the third quarter, actually it was, and then blocked a punt that led to a safety. And then Julian Crum had 2 huge plays, end around and a touchdown catch from Tommy Mister. All of a sudden it's 15-14 St. Rita. And then Matt Domer took over, like we've seen him do a bunch of times. Mount Carmel took the kick and went more than 80 yards for the game-winning touchdown. Domer had almost all the carries on that drive. You know, Domer is a gamer, which we've seen before. Illinois has got to be pretty happy about getting him.
Another semi-upset in Week 2. We're looking at Class 8A, the Stephenson Patriots upsetting Glenbard North and Justin Jackson and his prestigious career.
That one was the other one that we figured was going to be a really good game. Stephenson is, kind of where we thought they would be at the beginning of the year. We thought that they were going to be pretty good, and the impressive thing about that one is that Matt Morrissey got hurt. Stephenson wins the game anyway. Justin Jackson, a fantastic career, a fantastic season. He made a run at the state single-season rushing record, which he fell a little bit short of, but just an amazing performance. And I mean, the fact that this had to be a second-round game, a lot of people are kind of sad about that too, but, it is what it is.
Beth, would you like to eulogize Justin Jackson's high school career?
He's one of the best. I mean, I've been talking about the best back a lot in the state, but for what Justin Jackson can do, I mean, obviously, the fact that he put up near 3,000 yards, or maybe even a little over 3,000 yards this year, is all that you need to say about him. A note on Matt Morrissey, too. It appears he had a sore hamstring, so I imagine he will be back in round 3. Surely there's no confirmation I have on that, but that's what the word was, that he had a sore hamstring. And Cameron Green just was the game changer in that game, and he already has a couple Big Ten offers from Purdue and Illinois. Wouldn't surprise me to see him get more pretty quickly after a performance like that.
Top conferences, we got to talk about the Catholic League Blue. We already talked about Stephenson, but the North Suburban Conference Lake Division, each with 3 teams in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't too much of a surprise. I mean, people in the Catholic League Blue think they have the best conference in the state. In the playoffs, those teams have been 7-1. The only loss was St. Rita to Mount Carmel, to another conference rival. Providence is through to the quarterfinals in Class 6A. And obviously Loyola is through to the quarterfinals in Class 8A as well. North Suburban Lake, the teams we've talked a lot about this year, Lake Zurich in 7A, Stephenson in 8A. We haven't talked an awful lot about Lake Forest, but second year in a row they're making a deep playoff run. Hub Surame, their running back is having an excellent season, and it probably helps Lake Forest too that they play up all season long in the conference against 7 and 8A teams, and they've got things going pretty well right now.
So some big quarterfinal matchups coming up this Friday and Saturday, mostly Saturday because of the scheduling. We could start in Class 5A, undefeated Montini. They're only one of the last 2 undefeated teams, along with Sycamore. They're taking on Joliet Catholic.
Wow, this has been a state championship game in the past. It isn't this year because of the way the pairings broke down with the number of downstate teams in 5A. But, Mike Ivelo against Montini, that's going to be a matchup.
Saw a couple of players from other teams, like Mount Carmel, saying the one team that we wouldn't want to face is Montini because we think that they're the most talented pound-for-pound team in the state. And I'm not sure that I disagree with them there. They're a pretty talented team. That's certainly going to be a probably matchup to remember if it's anything like that state championship matchup from a couple years ago.
And another big one in Class 8A in that north bracket, Loyola hosting Maine South on Saturday.
Yeah, this was a semifinal game recently, a couple of times actually, and those were 2 epic games. I mean, these are the 2 teams probably up on the north side that everybody looks to. I mean, Maine South has been kind of flying a little bit under the radar. They made a quarterback change early in the year, and that seemed to really jumpstart them. Loyola is Loyola. They had a rough Week 9. We talked about a little bit with their loss to St. Rita, but this is going to be one of the games of the year, certainly in 8A, especially with some of the upsets we've seen in 8A.
And you kind of look at Class 7A, the top seed, Lake Zurich Bears, 3 home games in a row. They're going to be hosting Wheaton North. And Beth, you're heading to Wheaton North this week.
Absolutely. Our MVP this week is Clayton Thorson. Kind of hard to pick between him and Matt Bogowski. They had both incredible games.
All right, Beth, you want to wrap this up with some recruiting notes?
Yes, the most important one is Oregon State landed a commitment from Yanni Demo-Geriantis, who is out of Sandburg. He is a lineman who actually injured himself. He broke his ankle in the first part of the season. Doesn't really have any senior film, but apparently the story goes that he went into surgery for his ankle, woke up, checked his voicemail, and had an offer from Oregon State. A couple other offers. Naperville Central linebacker Bobby McMillan picked up an offer from Northern Michigan. It was his first offer. And Oak Park River Forest defensive back Xavier Rowe added an offer from North Dakota and South Dakota.
That'll do it for this edition of Inside the Huddle right here on High School Cube News, brought to you by Danley's Garage Builders. Tune in next week for our semifinal preview edition of Inside the Huddle. For Brian Chimino, from Mike Clark and Beth Long, we'll see you guys next week.